My wife called me at work, panicking. Her voice said, "Come home now." I rushed back to find police cars everywhere. My daughter ran to me, trembling. "Dad, don't go inside," she begged. "Mom doesn't want you to see." I pushed past her anyway, and that's when I discovered the horrifying truth. Drew Harmon's hands trembled on the steering wheel as he raced home, his wife's panicked voice still echoing in his ears. 20 minutes earlier, he'd been reviewing blueprints for the exclusive Riverview Heights development, a project that would cement his reputation as one of the most innovative architects in the state. Then the call came. "Drew." Vanessa's voice cracked with emotion. "Come home now." Drew's tires screeched as he pulled into his driveway. 3 police cruisers with flashing lights surrounded his meticulously designed modern home, the home he'd spent 2 years perfecting. His 16-year-old daughter, Lily, sprinted toward him, mascara streaking down her face. "Dad, please," she sobbed, clutching his arm. "Just wait for Mom to explain." Drew gently moved her aside and strolled through the front door. The smell hit him first, metallic and harsh. Then he saw the blood splattered across the pristine white walls of his living room. In the center of it all, Vanessa stood trembling beside a middle-aged detective, her hands and clothes stained crimson. "Mr. Harmon," the detective approached. "I'm Detective Thornton. There's been an incident. Your wife." "I killed him." Vanessa's voice cut through the room. "He broke in. He had a knife. I had no choice." On the floor, partially covered by a sheet, lay a man's body. The knife that had apparently been used in the attack rested in an evidence bag on the coffee table. "We believe it was self-defense," Detective Thornton explained. "The deceased appears to be Quentin Doyle, a man with priors for breaking and entering." Drew stared at his wife, whose haunted eyes refused to meet his. Something didn't add up. The house showed no signs of forced entry. Vanessa, cool, collected Vanessa, who screamed at the sight of spiders, had somehow managed to overpower an armed intruder. As the police processed the scene, Drew noticed a text notification flash on Vanessa's phone, which sat on the entrance table. Though he had never invaded her privacy before, something compelled him to glance at the screen. It was from Preston. "Are you okay? What happened? Call me as soon as you can. Preston Walsh." Drew's throat tightened. Preston was the charismatic landscape architect he'd brought in 6 months ago to work on the Riverview project. The same Preston who'd been spending an unusual amount of time consulting with Vanessa about their backyard renovation. That night, after Lily had finally fallen asleep and Vanessa had taken a sedative, Drew slipped into his home office. With methodical precision, the same attention to detail that had made him successful, he began to piece together what had really happened. Bank statements revealed unexplained withdrawals. Phone records showed hundreds of texts between Vanessa and Preston. Most damning of all, a hidden email account contained their plans to run away together. But who was the dead man? Why was he in their house? The pieces still didn't fit. Drew's mind flashed to Quentin Doyle's face. He looked vaguely familiar. After hours of searching, Drew found the connection. Doyle had been a contractor on one of Preston's previous projects. According to court records, he'd been convicted of assault after a dispute with a client. By sunrise, Drew had formed a theory. Preston had hired Doyle for something, but it had gone wrong, terribly wrong. Now, Vanessa and Preston were scrambling to cover their tracks. Drew closed his laptop and stared out at the dawning sky. The man who had entered his office the day before, ambitious, trusting, maybe even naive, was gone. In his place stood someone colder, more calculating, someone who would not rest until he uncovered the full truth. And once he had it, retribution would follow. 3 weeks passed. The official investigation ruled Quentin Doyle's death as justifiable. Homicide during an attempted robbery. Vanessa played the traumatized victim perfectly, attending therapy sessions and speaking in hushed tones. To the outside world, Drew appeared to be the supportive husband, taking time off work to help his family heal. But behind closed doors, Drew had transformed his home office into an investigation hub. Photos, timelines, and connection maps covered the walls. Every night after Vanessa took her prescribed sleeping pills, he meticulously gathered evidence. He discovered a pattern of meetings between Vanessa and Preston at a cabin in the mountains, a property owned through a shell company that Drew traced back to Preston. Bank transfers suggested large sums of money, changing hands between Preston and Doyle. Most disturbing of all, Life insurance policies had been taken out on Drew, with Vanessa as the sole beneficiary. The picture was becoming clearer. This hadn't been an interrupted robbery. It had been an interrupted murder, his murder. Somehow, the plan had gone sideways. The plan had gone sideways, and Doyle had ended up dead. Instead, Drew hired Malene Russo, a former military intelligence officer turned private investigator with a reputation for discretion, dark-haired and sharp-eyed. She had none of the flash of TV detectives, only quiet competence and a network of contacts. They're still planning something, Malene reported during a covert meeting at a diner 20 minutes from town. Preston's made 3 calls to someone named Boyd Weiler. Ex-military, dishonorable discharge. Now works as a problem solver for people who can pay. They're looking for a replacement for Doyle, Drew concluded coldly. Seems that way, and they're getting sloppy, desperate. Your wife withdrew another $25,000 yesterday. Drew nodded, his face impassive. Keep watching. And Malene, I need recordings. Every conversation, every meeting. Meanwhile, Drew cultivated a carefully crafted facade. He suggested that therapy wasn't working and proposed a fresh start. He told Vanessa he was considering a sabbatical, perhaps selling the house, the scene of such trauma, and traveling for a while. He even mentioned reviewing their life insurance policies, watching carefully as anxiety flickered across her face. For Lily's sake, he explained gently, we need to make sure she's taken care of no matter what. The mention of their daughter was calculated. Lily had always been Vanessa's weak spot, the one person she genuinely seemed to love. Drew also made a point of reconnecting with key players in his professional circle, particularly those who could be useful later. He reached out to Sonny Blackwood, a powerful developer with political connections, who had always appreciated Drew's architectural vision. He rekindled his friendship with Tara Lennox, a brilliant attorney known for her ruthless courtroom tactics, under the guise of getting advice for a colleague. Most critically, Drew befriended Weston Miles, the tech entrepreneur who had recently purchased the local news network. Over expensive scotch and casual conversation about architectural trends, Drew laid the groundwork for relationships that would prove invaluable. At the Riverview project, Drew made a show of welcoming Preston's continued involvement, despite the personal strain of recent events. During site visits, he was cordial, collaborative, even confiding in Preston about his struggles. Sometimes I wonder if Vanessa blames me somehow, he confessed during one such meeting, watching as Preston struggled to hide his discomfort. She's so distant. I'm worried about our marriage. Preston offered awkward reassurances while avoiding eye contact. That same evening, surveillance photos showed him meeting Vanessa in the parking lot of a discount store, passing her a burner phone. 2 months after Doyle's death, Drew received an urgent call from Malene. They've made a move, she said without preamble. Preston met with Boyd yesterday, and I just intercepted a text from your wife to Preston. Everything's set for the cabin this weekend. Drew's pulse remained steady as he replied. Then we'll be ready, too. He opened his laptop and reviewed the final elements of his plan. For weeks, he had been building his own architecture, not of steel and glass, but of evidence, connections, and leverage. Every detail had been considered, every contingency planned for. He glanced at the calendar. 3 days until the weekend. 3 days until Vanessa and Preston made their move. 3 days until Drew revealed exactly what happens to those who betray him. Friday arrived with a heavy rainfall that matched Drew's mood. Over breakfast, he told Vanessa he needed to drive to the city for an emergency meeting with investors concerned about the Riverview project. I'll be late. Don't wait up, he said, kissing her cheek, feeling her slight flinch. Be careful driving in this weather, she replied, her smile not reaching her eyes. Drew drove to his office and made a visible show of entering the building, knowing that Preston had a colleague watching his movements. Once inside, he slipped out through a service entrance where Malene waited in an unmarked car. Wilder picked up his payment this morning, she reported. As they drove, your wife packed a bag and told your daughter. She's staying with her sister tonight because of anxiety. Preston canceled his appointments for the next 3 days, citing a family emergency. Drew nodded. And the cabin, all set. Every room has audio and video. I have a team watching from a distance. By early afternoon, everything was in place. Drew waited in a rental cabin a mile from Preston's mountain property, monitoring the feeds on multiple screens. At 4:17 p.m., Vanessa's car pulled up to the cabin. Preston greeted her with a passionate embrace before they went inside. Their conversation confirmed everything. They discussed their plan to stage Drew's suicide the following week, using financial troubles as the motive. Preston had already begun spreading rumors about Drew's supposed mismanagement of the Riverview project. The life insurance would pay out, and after an appropriate mourning period, they would start fresh together. Boyd knows what to do, Vanessa asked. He's more professional than Quentin ever was, Preston assured her. It won't be messy this time. Drew watched them with detached interest, like an architect evaluating a faulty structure. When Boyd Weiler arrived at 7:23 p.m., Drew sent a pre-composed text message. 12 minutes later, police cruisers surrounded the cabin, lights flashing in the rain. Detective Thornan, now aware of the full picture thanks to Drew's carefully compiled evidence, led the arrest. Boyd Weiler tried to flee. Now you can watch the second part by pressing share. After an appropriate mourning period, they would start fresh together. Boyd knew what to do, Vanessa had asked. He was more professional than Quentin ever was. Preston assured her it wouldn't be messy this time. Drew watched them with detached interest, like an architect evaluating a faulty structure. When Boyd arrived at 7:23 p.m., Drew sent a pre-composed text message. 12 minutes later, police cruisers surrounded the cabin, lights flashing in the rain. Detective Thornton, now aware of the full picture thanks to Drew's carefully compiled evidence, led the arrest. Wilder tried to flee but was quickly apprehended. Preston attempted to claim the meeting was innocent, but the recording devices had captured everything. Vanessa simply collapsed into a chair, her perfect facade crumbling as she realized the trap had been sprung. While this played out, Drew was establishing his alibi with prominent witnesses. He attended a charity gala in the city, making sure to be photographed with Sonny Blackwood and several city officials. Tara Lennox, now fully briefed on the case, stood ready to represent his interests. West Miles ensured the story would be covered accurately, not as a sensational scandal, but as the calculated criminal conspiracy it was. By midnight, Drew was giving a statement to the police, playing the part of the shocked, betrayed husband with enough authenticity to earn sympathetic glances from the officers. But the true masterstroke came the following day, as Drew pretended to struggle with the public revelation of his wife's betrayal. The evidence he had gathered revealed something much larger than a love affair gone wrong. Financial records showed that Preston had been systematically embezzling from multiple development projects, including Riverview Heights. Vanessa, with her background in finance, had helped launder the money through various shell companies. Their plan hadn't just been to eliminate Drew. They needed to silence him because he had unknowingly stumbled upon discrepancies in the Riverview books. The district attorney charged them with conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, fraud, money laundering, and a host of other crimes. With the mountain of evidence Drew had accumulated, their legal teams advised plea deals. Preston received 25 years, Vanessa 17. As for Boyd Weiler, his previous record ensured he'd never see freedom again. During questioning, Boyd revealed that Quentin Doyle hadn't been hired to kill Drew. He'd been hired to steal architectural plans and financial documents. Vanessa had killed him during an argument over payment, then fabricated the break-in story. 6 months later, Drew sat in his rebuilt home office, finalizing designs for a revolutionary urban renewal project that would cement his professional legacy. Lily, initially devastated by her mother's betrayal, had found stability through therapy and her father's unwavering support. She now sat across from him, sketching her own architectural ideas, showing the same talent that had once propelled Drew to success. His phone chimed with a text from Malene, who had become more than just an investigator in his life. Hearing just concluded. Vanessa's appeal denied. Thought you'd want to know. Drew sent a simple acknowledgement, then returned to his work. He felt no triumph, no satisfaction, only the cool certainty that justice had been served. The world had learned what happened to those who betrayed Drew Harmon. He had dismantled their schemes with the same precision he used to design his buildings, leaving no room for forgiveness, no possibility of redemption. As evening fell, Drew looked out at the neighborhood he had once shared with Vanessa. Their neighbors still whispered about the scandal, but their hushed tones now contained a new element, respect tinged with fear. They had witnessed the transformation of a man they thought they knew, from respected architect to ruthless strategist who had orchestrated The perfect revenge without ever getting his hands dirty. Drew closed his laptop and joined Lily for dinner. Tomorrow would bring new projects, new challenges. And if anyone else ever dared to cross him, they would learn what his wife and her lover had discovered too late. Drew Harmon designed not just buildings, but consequences. And his designs were always flawless. This is where our story comes to an end. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and follow. Thanks to all for your support.